Ever wondered how to combine creativity, technology, and real estate to supercharge your business? Meet Adam Gillespie, an AI and CRM real estate coach who took on an unconventional path from musician to real estate innovator. Adam's unique journey led him to master the integration of AI into real estate, enabling him to streamline operations and revolutionize client interactions. In today's episode, we'll explore how Adam leverages AI to enhance productivity, create personalized content, and deliver exceptional customer service in real estate. Let's get started. Hey, Adam, welcome to the channel. Let's hear first a little bit just about your background and what got you initially interested in the space of real estate and technology.
Yeah. So I'm completely non-conventional to this industry and to the whole subject of tech, right? I don't really fit the bill or the image, right? Yeah, basically I was a musician growing up. I'm in my 40s now. So back in the MySpace days, if you guys don't know what MySpace is, it was like a cooler version of Facebook. I might be an old timer on that, but yeah, basically just always into video games, always into computers. And when my band started in 2004, we found an app, which was basically a robot at that time that would auto post our band's music page and auto play the music on like famous people's pages, right? So the way MySpace worked is we had a comment section on the main page where people could just post and comment on your profile. So my bot did this automatically and got us thousands and thousands of plays racked up daily. And it got the attention of like our local radio station. We started getting gigs off of it and stuff like that. So that was like my first real interaction with AI, like true AI, where I had an agent out doing things for me. And it just changed the game. And then, come about 2014, I had kids, or a kid. And, I just kind of got to that point in the music career where it really wasn't doing anything. And I wasn't able to, provide for my family the way that I wanted to. So I needed to get something going on that could create a livable wage for me. I went into construction and then did that for a few years, had some employees and was like, this isn't really for me. I don't like depending on other people to get things done. I wanted more of a solo control. And my buddy's like, hey, you should check out real estate. And it was really weird because I had thought about it since like 2002 when I left high school. I never really did anything with it. So I jumped into that in 2017 and never looked back and quickly found out that real estate is a lot like being in a band. Like it's so crazy because we're constantly trying to get gigs in a band, right? And that's kind of like how we try to get clients in real estate. So a lot of the marketing and stuff like that was similar. So fast forward, late November 2022, my sister hits me up. She's like, hey, have you heard of this ChatGPT thing? And I'm like, no, what is it? And she's like, it might be like this new Google. So I like jumped onto it and I started playing with it. And I quickly realized that, oh, wow. This is one of the most advanced things that we've ever set our fingertips on as humans. And it could be absolutely game changing as far as the automation capabilities and content creations that we need as realtors to market ourselves to the general public. So that's how I ended up here.
Excellent. I love that you mentioned that parallel of how, you started off as a musician. You had some interesting ways of being able to automate some of the process of getting like your music out there, which is really cool. And then have that skill of thinking outside the box, of marketing to others really fits well into real estate. And I think a lot of people, they may think like, oh, if I don't start real estate at 18 years old, maybe it's just not for me. But most people who do start real estate come from different paths. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's a unique and diverse industry that we're in. And one thing I have noticed pretty common is that a lot of us musicians that almost made it, we end up in real estate, because it's so similar. Most of us work from home. That's kind of how it is as a musician, right? The only time we're really working is when we're playing shows. But other than that, it's behind the computer marketing, trying to find new opportunities for the band, getting you on podcasts, getting you on radio stations, all that kind of stuff. And you really think about it, it's like, that's the exact same thing we do here. We create blogs, we post them on the website, we run lead generation ads, we try to contact people. Like it's the same thing.
But you get to the stage, you're now playing around with ChatGPT and you're like, wow, this is going to transform possibly not just my industry, but many others. So for those that may be a little bit in the dark, could you explain a little bit more about how AI can impact and what's its benefit for your specialty in real estate?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that AI needs to be like the perspective that we need to have on it, right? Because there's a lot of fear in the industry right now. a lot of people think like, oh my gosh, AI is going to take our jobs. Like we're going to have like a Terminator situation where we're all running from robots. And it's like, hold up. No, probably not, right? This is more of an augmented situation where we're using AI to enhance our ability to provide excellent customer service, right? And as realtors, we wear so many different hats. There's so much going on in our day-to-day business that we get bogged down real easily. And that takes away from our ability to offer stellar customer service, right? So I found out that really quickly, ChatGPT saves me time. And that is the most precious thing that we have as realtors. We all know how this job can just consume you, right? So we lose time with our family, we lose time with our clients, and we end up finding ourselves doing a lot of busy work. And I realized real quickly that ChatGPT can not only enhance the way that we get our output of that busy work and marketing material, but it can do it significantly faster than we can and at a greater scale. So it was one of those like aha moments for me where I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing this for everything. Like I'm literally going to treat ChatGPT like it's some kind of person that knows everything. And I'm just going to ask it if it can do some of the things that I want it to do. I found out that it really could. It could do a lot of stuff. So yeah, I've just been playing with it ever since.
Distinction that you made about being able to save time, like that's key. So even though I'm not an agent, I'm a content creator, of course. That's why we have the podcast. And there's so many things that go on in the back end, similar to an agent, of like deciding on a title, on a description, all these things that they pull you away from the main part, which is finding amazing guests with amazing stories. And for your aspect, it's being able to find the best property potentially for the end buyer or to sell a property for a seller. So I really love that you unlocked that insight of being able to save time and focus on more important tasks. So now shifting gears a little bit, a lot of people may think that ChatGPT, it's just one single prompt. Like you could just ask questions or, maybe help me with the title, provide a summary of a given news article, but it can go beyond that. Can you specify a little bit more about some of the capabilities you've been able to tap into?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's where 99% of the people that are using ChatGPT do it wrong, right? They think like, hey, I'm just going to ask it a basic question and there's no real context to it. And we have to understand that ChatGPT and the way that it works, it's not how the public perceives it. Okay. It's just pattern recognition, right? So the more information we can give it, the more patterns we can give it to decipher, then the better it can add that weight. It's basically just going through a neural network and it's deciphering down and down and down and finding the best actual possible result for that pattern that we just put into it, right? And it does that and gives the final one the highest weight. And then that's what the response is. So when we just get really basic and not detailed with ChatGPT, we get really basic and not detailed responses. And this is where most people lie, right? So, giving ChatGPT the context, some examples, like I always tell people, I'm like, the first thing you need to do is you need to assign a role to it. Right? Because ChatGPT is a large language model. It's like the jack of all trades, master of none, until you tell it what it needs to be a master in. We always need to give it a role, right? So if you're doing content creation or you're like, hey, I've got a new listing coming up and I want to write the dopest listing description ever, like we need to make sure that ChatGPT understands what its role is going to be before we just say, hey, write me a listing description, right? We give it a role. We say, hey, you're going to act as a expert real estate copywriter or an expert, YouTuber with the likes of Mr. Beast's production style. And we give it some examples, right? To where it can get a good understanding and a grasp of what we're trying to achieve. And then secondary to that, you supply it with a goal. You say, okay, so now you've assumed this role of this expert copywriter that specializes in listing descriptions in the real estate market. Now what's the goal? What are we doing here? Write me a listing description. I want to create the ultimate listing description for my new listing in this neighborhood, right? I want to, make sure I emphasize these key points of it. And I want it to be written in a, conversational friendly tone. And we continue to layer this down. And then you can say, hey, here's the last listing description that I absolutely wrote. I love this one. This is an example. And now ChatGPT has a lot of stuff to work on, right? So the output of that is going to be significantly more quality and better because we've given it all of that information. And like I said, that's where most people just don't understand. They want a simple copy and paste prompt, throw it in there and get their result. And it's just not the way this technology
It makes sense thank you for breaking it down that way. It makes sense that you would need to kind of give it some information first So similar, as you were going through that, I was thinking in my head, if you're training, say, an intern to help you with some of these tasks, you'd likely tell them within their description, like for the role itself, intern needed for copyright. Have a bit of description of what you want them to do. Like you said, maybe doing listing descriptions, offer them some examples, and then say, overall, this is our end person, and I want it to sound that it's conversational to that end individual. So if you think of ChatGPT almost as an intern, it becomes a little bit more simplistic in how like the flow should go. Do you agree with that statement?
100%. Yeah. I always like an intern that is a genius, right? Like you have this epic opportunity to get this person to work for you. But if they don't know what it is that you're actually trying to achieve, then they can't help you. Right. So I think that that's a perfect, example right there.
How are you learning about this, right? So you're initially just, prompting ChatGPT as you started to play around with it initially. When you went to that next layer of really understanding how to best utilize it, was this going through YouTube videos, having conversations with others in your network? How did you learn more?
So the crazy thing is that I have really bad ADHD. And for those of you that know a little bit about ADHD, when we find something that we're interested in, we absolutely tunnel vision on it, right? So with ChatGPT, that happened with me. So I literally tried everything on it, right? And then once I started to realize I could get these outputs, my brain goes, why am I getting these outputs? What's going on under the hood, right? So for those of us with mechanical inclination, it's like driving a car, okay? Like everybody can do it and everybody can operate ChatGPT. But if something goes wrong, that's like a malfunction in your car, right? Where most people are like, I don't know what's wrong with my car. I got to take it to a mechanic. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. So I'm like, I need to figure out how ChatGPT is working. So the first thing I did is I went to one of the originators, in my opinion, of the progression of AI, and that's IBM. I got my skills build credit for AI foundations through IBM, and that helped me understand the basics of how a large language model works, right? And then obviously geeking out and learning the history of AI and all that stuff was involved in there as well. But I started to get a good understanding of what a large language model is, how it works, how tokens are processed, all of that good stuff. And then I went back to work. And now it's like, okay, now I can get back into the real estate business. Well, I'm still in it, but now I can apply this more to my day to day with more intentions because I know how this is functioning, right? Because like most people, we think like, oh my gosh, it like understands us, and it's not, it's pattern recognition, right? So that gave me ideas on how I could use it. Like, for example, without going down the rabbit hole, we can dive more deeper in this if you want to, but I've used it to program a chat on the Denver County codes and regulations. So that way I could get direct answers without having to go through a 2,500 page PDF that's Denver County gives you because they don't want to explain anything to you, right? And then it just makes us the expert right then and there. So it's one of those things where I just started to figure out these different uses for it. And next thing you know, I was like, dang, I use this in like 80 to 90% of my business.
Absolutely incredible. I love the way you just kind of focused, dived in deep into the topic, and then not only just learn, but also apply your knowledge as well. So let's dive deeper into that example that you mentioned with regulations, because that's a huge part about real estate that can really stop someone from moving forward on a deal because they're unclear exactly how to read through this massive document and find the detail that they need. So how did you go through that solution?
Yeah. So story time, everybody gather around. I was under a deal. I have a past client who he runs a trucking company, and he's like, Adam, I need a property that I can live in and still park my trucks. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So let's find you some mixed use, right? So we end up going under contract on a property that's zoned. The area in which the property is located is zoned industrial, but the property is a residential property. Okay. And it's been there since the 1950s. So we went under contract on this thinking nothing of it. And as soon as the appraiser goes out to, or the appraiser is assigned to it, they send a letter back to the lender or a note back to the lender saying, hey, we can't go see this because we won't do a residential appraisal form on this because it's not the highest and best use, right? They're saying this is an industrial zone. This property basically needs to be sold as a commercial property or an industrial property. And this is where 99% of agents would. It's not because they don't want to situation. It's just because it's daunting, right? Most of us aren't zoning and code experts, right? And we can refer the client to a real estate attorney, But I realized there's got to be another way. My mom always says, you never take no for an answer. I didn't take no for an answer here. I'm like, no way. We're going to figure this out. So what I did is I started researching the codes and regulations from Denver County. I can put this inside the knowledge of ChatGPT, and then let's see if ChatGPT can answer some of my questions. I literally started a new chat inside of ChatGPT, and all I said was, you will act as an attorney. You're an attorney that specializes in real estate. I have this situation, and I laid it out. And then I said, here's the zoning guides and regulations. What are my options? And ChatGPT came back, and any property that was originally created as a residential property and has maintained its residential status would still be grandfathered in, even if the surrounding area zoning has changed. And I'm like, great. What else? What else? So we got the grandfather clause that doesn't fit the definition for an industrial zoned area. And then we have what it's been used for. So as long as it continued on residential use and we could still prove current residential use, this should be a shoe. How should I bring this up to the appraisers? Can you write me a letter like it came from an attorney? Yep, sure can. So ChatGPT writes me out this amazing email. I copy the lender on it and I say, can you please send this to the appraiser? So they send it to the appraiser, and about 2 hours later, they're like, yeah, we scheduled the appraiser. We're going out. It appraised residential. It appraised that value, and boom. Without ChatGPT, I don't know if I would have got that outcome. Like, it's just crazy. So that was one of those major aha moments where I was like, maybe we're onto something with this. Like, this can be significantly different than just a listing description creator.
You took it to the next level. I'm actually mind blown. The fact that you didn't let it stop you. You thought, you know what, let me take this next step, see if I can upload this document, but prompt ChatGPT with the right questions. And it was able to synthesize that information for you, really saving you time.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, when you first set this up, was it taking you hours, days, a week? How long did this entire process take end to end?
Yeah, it took a long time. There was so many times where it would say no. Sorry, I just choked on my coffee. But yeah, it would tell me no. And then, like my mom says, Adam, you don't take no for an answer. So I would just try to reword things a lot, right? So these chats that I can now do very quickly took a long time. And especially the prompt learning process, right? Like, once I started finding out, because I had to start researching prompt engineering, and I'm like, how are these other guys doing this that makes it more effective, right? So we start learning these different methods of prompt engineering and we start trying to apply that. But there's a lot of back and forth. And this is why I tell people it's called ChatGPT for a reason. It's not prompt GPT. It's ChatGPT. And it's because it's supposed to be conversational, right? So we're supposed to go through these nuanced processes with it, to get the results that we want. So, adopting that perspective and then just trial and error resulted in, I was basically sitting at EXPCon last year. And I had a couple of my buddies with me, and they had an AI panelist on there, and she was great. Definitely great, but we're talking really low level AI, right? And my buddy's like, dude, we need to do something with what you're doing. So we kind of started planning things out. And I was like, well, we could release a course. We could do all this other stuff to try to teach more agents about how to properly prompt ChatGPT so they can get the results that we're getting, right? So we started doing that. I started talking more in front of my groups about AI, and then it was soon leveraged that I was kind of like the AI guy, right? So that really gave me another push forward to really master this craft and try to get it as best as I could, so that way I can provide stellar customer service to my new clients, which are now real estate agents, right? So just doing this over and over and over and over again until I started writing these prompts down, saving them, and figuring out how I can make them universal for other agents to use. And then that was what really was like, okay, we can streamline this because I can get this into an agent's hand. And instead of them spending 3 hours creating the prompt, I've already done it for the practical application, right? So now I can send a prompt to an agent. They can put the prompt in, they can fill it out, and then they can upload an inspection report. ChatGPT will analyze the entire inspection report, categorize all of the findings based on their severity, right? And the urgency of it. Then they create your inspection notice. We can have all of that done at a very high level by getting that prompt dialed in and then being able to make it universal for the other agents. So yeah, once I got that, I was like, all right, let's pump this out and get it to into people's hands. And yeah, now we have agents all over the country that are doing, blogs and 5 minutes, right? Like you can sit down at your computer, you can get into a blog idea, create the body of the blog, you can create your image, you can upload it on your website, you can post it on your social media in 5 minutes. Like, tell me that's not a time saver, right? And the same thing with like inspection reports. Like you can do stuff that would take us hours and in just a matter of minutes.
Absolutely incredible. I'm again stunned how you systematize this entire process. You have basically a streamlined process that other agents can follow and cut that time to get their answers right away. But one question I had to ask, so when it comes to creating blogs, sometimes ChatGPT can make it sound like it's not as much coming from yourself. Like it sounds like it's coming from a bot of some sort. So how do you account for this?
I am so glad you asked that, because this is the real ninja move with ChatGPT, right? Like we've talked about how to prompt it. We've talked about the results that it can give. But when we need these results to be personalized and we don't want to sound the same, ChatGPT language is just horrible. And those of us that recognize it, we recognize it right away. So being able to personalize this and make that blog sound like you is key. Early on, I was like, man, it would be really cool if I could clone myself into this. And my wife looks at me and she's like, that sounds like Terminator style stuff. If I could teach ChatGPT how I speak, if I could teach ChatGPT about my business, my goals and my aspirations, and then it could couple that with my speech patterns, like this content could be next level. So I did that. I cloned myself into ChatGPT. And now when I write a blog with ChatGPT, it's created by ChatGPT, but it sounds exactly like me. And I'm like, hey, what up, peeps? You know, I'm Adam Gillespie. I'm your Denver No BS realtor. And today we're going to talk about first-time homebuyer programs, right? So I was able to get these blogs to sound like me. And then I'm like, well, maybe I could turn this blog into a video. I'm telling you right now, being in front of a camera is a whole different ballgame. So I realized real quickly that I needed a teleprompter when I was doing so I was like, all right, I got to figure out a way to get this to really flow properly and sound like me. So basically ChatGPT creates my script. I upload it to a teleprompter and then bam, I just started delivering it. And teleprompting is kind of a skill in itself. Try to make it sound like you're not reading. But when the words that are coming onto the teleprompter sound like you, it's a game changer, right? And then that led to another, oh my gosh, I can send emails with this. I can put my comments on Facebook with this. Holy crap. Like it's literally a digital version of me. And that is the best thing that you could ever do, no matter what industry you're in, if you're using ChatGPT, and you want it to be personalized like you.
Love that. Love that it's, taking the information of yourself that you've already maybe put out there, other blogs you've written, or other information of your style of how you communicate with others. And then from there, being able to create original content that sounds like you. Now, I would love to hear a little bit about some of the effects. So have you seen your lead gen increase or revenue or any numbers you could throw out there that you've seen post using ChatGPT?
Yeah, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here because this part's really important, right? Like we're doing all this stuff to save our time, but does it make a difference? And the answer is yes. Yes, it does. So like I revamped all of my ads, right? So once again, I programmed a chat to be an expert real estate ad copywriter, right? And then not only did I do that, but I go and I find some of the top ad marketing agencies out there. And then I tell ChatGPT that you're going to mimic kind of the style of these agencies, right? Now we're not copying their work. We're just giving ChatGPT the idea of what we want this to be like. But rewrite the ad for Facebook. That's where I do most of my advertising now. And so I have like a first-time home buyer ad, and it would use neuro-linguistics. So that way we can still help the client see their vision, right? Because that's the key. When you can see it, then you can start really thinking about it, and it becomes. So I never did this before. I would just like try to write an ad and be like, hey, if you're looking to buy your first home, I can help you. Let me know. And then ChatGPT turns it into an actual ad that sounds like it was written by somebody else, or like somebody that knew what they were doing. So I would run these ads and I quickly dropped my ad. My ad cost was around $10 an ad. And the first time I ever ran a ChatGPT ad, which was during COVID, I was getting ads at like $4 to $6 a pop, like throughout a solid 8 month period. I was running this ad, right? And I was running very little ad spend. I was a broke realtor at the time. So I'm like literally $10 a day on Facebook, and I was getting leads. But that was just the beginning of it. So I was like, okay, now my leads are coming in so cheap and I'm getting so many of them that I can't really reach out to all of them all the time. So I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, based on that ad that we just created, I need you to help me create like a text campaign that has my calendar link in it that these people can just book directly to my calendar. So ChatGPT is like, great, let's do it. So it creates a whole text campaign. So I'm like, all right, copy and paste that into my CRM. If you guys don't know yet, I'm a CRM geek as well. That's like, I believe that's the number one most important tool to us in real estate next to ChatGPT is your CRM. So I got my automatic text campaign going. And then I'm like, man, all of these other drip campaigns really suck and they don't have anything to do with how that lead came into my system, right? Everybody's using those canned drip campaigns. So I go back to that same chat and I'm like, well, now let's create an informational email drip campaign that we can gear towards first-time home buyers that just explains the process of buying a house and isn't salesy, but more educational. So it does that, right? I create a 3-year drip campaign at 2 emails a month, copy and paste that, put that into my CRM. Well, now it's completely automated, right? So if I can't get to that call, which always call your leads, peeps, but if you can't, then I still have an entire automated system that ChatGPT helped me set up in a matter of hours instead of days or months that I did for each lead source coming in. And now my CRM runs completely automated. I've got about 1,900 leads in it right now. And a lot of them are archived leads, but like I continuously market to them. And I'm one of the last agents hanging on when they're finally ready to make a move. So like this year, all I've done is coaching on AI. And I'm still good. I'm looking at getting 10 deals this year just out of an automated CRM. So if you're in a market like mine in Denver, like guys, that's an extra 6 figures right there just by implementing this stuff and putting it into your CRM and automating it. It's business changing stuff here.
Running your business practically on autopilot just by doing a lot of work upfront.
And the crazy part is that because ChatGPT simplified the process of creating this, I would write my own drip campaigns even before ChatGPT, and it would take weeks, like weeks to do. Think about it. Like 3 years of emails at 2 emails a month is a large amount of data to create, right? I did this drip campaign in less than 45 minutes, right? My whole chat between building the ad, building the drip campaigns, and building the email campaigns, and then getting it all executed is like less than 3 hours.
Because this is where you're able to really, value your time and also scale even faster.
And the best part is like now that I've got that stuff out of the way, I'm there for my clients. Like, you know what I mean? Like when we start getting these calls or you want to make your daily calls, like, I make my calls in the morning to my clients, let them know what the update is. Like, I don't have to rush to do that before my afternoon starts anymore because what used to take me all morning now takes me just a small chunk of my morning, And like I said, that's the key here. The key isn't that we're going to replace ourselves with AI and that we don't have to work anymore. The key is that we've augmented our process with the use of artificial intelligence, and it significantly increases the efficiency in which we can operate. And that results in saved time. So now, spending more time with the family, spending more time with the clients, and just doing those things that actually bring joy to me in this industry. Because I don't really like the back end stuff. So having that automated has just changed the whole game. Puts that spunk back in you too. I don't know if there's any jaded agents out there listening to this, but this is a hard job, right? If it was easy, more people would do it. So it's easy to get jaded, and this really brought back the fun for me.
Love that. And something that's, I think a lot of people go into your business as well as for myself is to be able to have those high touch points of communication with others. We get a high out of being able to help people. But in that process, there's also, sometimes we get questions that we're repeating, multiple times. Is there a way to use ChatGPT to maybe help answer those types of questions so that you can focus on ones that need like a deeper layer of expertise?
Yeah, absolutely. What we do is we just use the back end of ChatGPT. So there's two ways to use ChatGPT. Okay. We can use it on the website side of things where we see what everybody else usually sees. And then there's the API side, right? So this is where we make apps communicate with each other. Okay. So what you can do is you can create a chat bot that you've uploaded into its knowledge base, all of the frequently asked questions, right? And then you can give the answers that you want to give based on your sales process inside as the answers to those questions. And then you can deploy this bot via API onto your website. And now you have a 24/7 questions and answers bot for you. So you can tell your clients, like, a lot of people think that they got to be worried about AI and what people are going to think about it. But like I tell my clients, hey, I'm a tech savvy realtor and I absolutely embrace AI. And this is how it benefits you. Well, with me, you have a bot. And I will literally, I'm working on another thing where I'm bringing my GPTs into an application interface. So instead of sending them to ChatGPT or making them go to my website, I can give them an app to download that has my process already programmed into it. So then they can just go, let's just ask Adam's app. And then boom, 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 they get their answer. They're like, great, I got my answer. And then I program it in such a way to where if they're asking questions that it can't answer, it just says, hey, you know what? I actually don't know the answer to that. Let me wait till Adam's back in the office and I'll have him reach out. Right. So it's so beneficial to the client. And I honestly feel like with the technology being available, if we choose not to implement this, then aren't we doing our clients a disservice? Right? Because it's our job to be the educators and advisors. And if we can employ something like a bot to be there for them 24/7, then that's a huge benefit to working with you. And even, we get into the unique sales proposition at this point in time as well with that, right? Because a lot of agents are still really scared about this. So I tell everybody, the early adopters of this technology, and the more you implement it and the more that you're transparent with it, right? I say all the time on my YouTube videos, I say, hey, I help realtors like you level up their game by the practical and ethical use of AI and implementation into your CRM, right? And that's the key word, is ethical, and doing this practically. So that way we're helping people. Super key. If you're an early adopter to this, you're going to crush the game, while everybody else who is hesitant and scared is going to be trying to catch up, and they won't be able to catch you once you get started.
Percent. Yeah, this is the time now to actually take action, learn how to leverage this for your business, and scale at a rate that you probably weren't going to be able to prior to that. So if someone wanted to actually get started, what would be the process to start building these prompts for their local region? For example, like that previous use case that you had of uploading their regulations and their codes. How does that process look like at the start? And then when would they see actual fruition from it?
Yeah. So basically, I recommend that, you need to get educated on it, right? It took me 2 years of playing with this before I felt like I could get on to shows like this and explain it to people, right? I want to save you that time. I don't want you to have to go through that, right? So that's why I created Agent Prompt University. And this is basically my AI course and community where I show you guys how to use ChatGPT. I show you guys everything that it took me years to learn. And I break it down to you guys in, about 10 hours worth of self-paced course content. And then we do weekly like live calls like we're doing right now with the entire community. And I answer questions about AI. We talk about the news and why it matters for us realtors. And we just go through this whole thing. And that is the quickest way, in my opinion, to go from knowing nothing about ChatGPT and being able to implement it in your business with real results. Now, as far as the time frame of those results, well, everybody's business is different, right? If you don't educate, or if you don't execute on this education, then you're probably not going to get any results, right? So I tell that to my people all the time inside the community. I don't want to call them students because I honestly still feel like I'm a student, and like we learn off of each other now. So I tell everybody in the community, like, hey, like, just you have to try to just use it, right? Like, but it's going to save you time if you go ahead and go through this process first, right? So that's why we have that whole self-paced environment there. And when it comes to when it comes to the timeline of which you're going to get results, it's all about the execution and how quickly you can get this implemented in and how effective you do it. For me, the results were pretty much immediate. And by that, I mean, like, I really started out with the blog and the content creation first on it. So I started doing a blog every morning, and then I would post it to my KV Core website. Then about a week, I started noticing that, oh my gosh, I went from getting 0 views on my website to now my Google Analytics is starting to light up, because we're doing SEO optimization on these blogs as well, right? ChatGPT is doing all of this stuff for me in a way better manner than I could ever do it. So it's like we're getting this professional result, right? So I was like, okay, keep posting these blogs. Well, next thing you know, a couple of leads start coming in. And I'm like, where are these leads coming from? Oh, they're sourced in my website, right? So it's got to be from the blogs, because I'm not running PPC ads. I'm running Facebook on form ads. So they're not going to my website. So I'm going to keep doing this. Now, I'll probably get, depending on if I'm really consistent with the blogs, but like 10 to 15 leads a month just coming out of my website. And that's huge. I'm a solo agent. I'm not on a team. I'm procuring all of my own leads. So that's a big number to not have to pay for, And some of them aren't serious, but that's like any other internet lead, but it's getting me results. So if you are in a situation where you have the ability to leverage your budget against this, like just imagine the scaling opportunities you have with it.
Course. And if you're someone's a new agent, right? They do have a budget to put towards this, but they don't have any content they've previously created, whether it's through video form or blogs. They're really starting from scratch. Is this something that they could still utilize?
Absolutely. And what I'd want to do for you guys today is I'll email you my prompt for this, because I think if you could give this away to your guys, to your audience, they'd love it. And what this is called the Learn My Business prompt. Okay. And this is going to be the first step in cloning yourself inside of ChatGPT, because really, if you're just getting started and you're like, Adam, where should I really start? Like, cloning yourself into ChatGPT is where you should start, because that's what's going to get you the personalized results. That's what's going to make you not sound like ChatGPT, right? So I'll share the prompt with you. It's a very detailed prompt that basically positions ChatGPT as, you know, an advisor and consultant in your business, and that its job is to know your business. So that way we can have it documented, so we can always very quickly train a chat on exactly what we're trying to achieve, right? So it goes through a big, long bunch of steps with you. This is a prompt that you're going to paste in. You're going to hit enter, and you're not going to be done for about 3 or 4 hours. You might even run out of prompts if you're using GPT-4. That'll say, hey, you got to wait. You hit your limit. At the end of this, if you guys answer the questions that ChatGPT is going to ask you and you do it in great detail, then you're going to teach ChatGPT about your vision, what your business is, your target audience, everything like that, and even competitor analysis. And then it's going to break it down into a detailed summary that you're going to copy, and then you're going to paste that into a Google Doc. Save it as a PDF or a Word document. Now you have this document that you can bring into ChatGPT anytime, and ChatGPT will know everything about your business right away. Then you need to get your speech patterns, right? So after you've got that document, then you're going to go back to ChatGPT. If you have any type of video on YouTube that has you speaking unscripted, then you can just transcribe that, put that into a document and say, hey, here's my speech patterns. And then bam, your speech patterns are programmed into ChatGPT. That easy. The more you have, the better, right? So you don't want to just grab one 10-minute video and say, this is enough. Get is all your videos that are unscripted, that are just you talking, and then you put those in there. Now, a lot of these agents that are watching right now are probably going to say, well, I don't have that. So that's cool. So what you're going to want to do is just pop open a Google Doc, hit the microphone button, and give a listing presentation. Give a mock listing presentation straight out. Let your phone transcribe everything, and then do a buyer's presentation after that. And then if you really, really want to capture your essence, talk to a friend on a phone call. Talk to your friend on a phone call without them on speaker, and let your Google Doc record that, transcribe that call. If you're on the phone, you can't be using this, so you might need to get your computer or your tablet out to do this. But this is going to capture the essence of you talking outside of a professional area as well. Then you group that all together in a document, and then you just save it. This is my speech patterns. And now you have 2 documents that you can upload into any blank chat. And within a matter of seconds, ChatGPT will know everything about your business, and it'll know how you speak. So then you can say, please create a blog for me in listicle format. You can now prompt ChatGPT without having to go through all that prompt engineering, because you've already got the basis in there programmed, right? So now I'm like, say, hey, create a blog. I would show my screen and share my screen and show you guys this. I could create a blog in a matter of seconds right now, and it'll do it in my vocal style. So then I can just copy and paste it right into my website.
This is an insane amount of value. And the fact that you're willing to give this part away to the audience is, so much thanks to that. And I believe that there's so much of a use case. It's not even just for agents, possibly even for adjacent businesses like wholesaling or running an Airbnb business. Different types of use cases could follow this process as well, right?
Any industry. If you, when I give this prompt out to you, like you could just change the word real estate to your industry, right? Like this works for everybody, because what we're doing is we're just teaching ChatGPT about your business, and then we're just programming your speech patterns. So you can literally create a digital clone of you no matter what you're doing, whether you're a content creator on YouTube, a real estate investor, or, even if you're flipping houses. Like I tell contractors, I'm like, dude, if your internet game is not on point right now as a contractor, you are missing out so bad, because contractors are not into this game. But now you can have this, like, this is the great equalizer, right? We now have the same technology and knowledge and access to the knowledge that major corporations and mega brokerages have. And we can get the same quality content output as them. right? So if we're not using this tool, we are doing ourselves a major, major disservice. So yeah, I'm very excited to share that prompt with you guys. And I hope that you guys use it if you need anything or you guys got any questions. Hopefully you'll link me down below and they can find me and ask any questions they got. Because at the end of the day, my biggest concern is that you guys can learn how to do this properly so it does make a difference in your life.
Exactly. And this is really the moment in time to be doing this, right? To be that equalizer, to be able to compete against those with more resources before the space becomes oversaturated where everyone has the same access to the same tools. So definitely click the link below. Adam is, so gracious to give us this information. And for those that want to follow more of your content as well as your community, how would they do so?
Find me on YouTube. I recently got on YouTube and it seems like it's working out pretty well. So, just check me out. It's Adam Gillespie. If you literally just search Adam Gillespie in YouTube, you'll see me pop up. It's a cartoon image of this face right here. Or you can just at Adam Gillespie _AI. And that should take you right there. But I've got a bunch of tutorials on there and updates about AI, and it's all focused on real estate, though. So just FYI, this is a realtor AI-driven channel, but it's amazing. So that's the best place to follow me. Really, if you just type Adam Gillespie Realtor into Google, you'll see all of my social media.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for your time. Really impressed with all the knowledge you've been able to obtain, but also share with your audience, and really excited to be following your journey in the future.
Thanks, Ariel. I'm so glad that you had me on the show and I could share this with everybody. So I really appreciate you for that. Thank you.